show. If you love my astrology, you need to stay tuned because the planet Neptune has gone retrograde and you need to know about this. So we'll be talking about that. And stay tuned because I have some surprises that if you donate to my MS Hike fundraiser, that you will get some gifts back. So stay tuned. Thank you again for joining in KUHS. Remember
music's still on.
that
Take it all the way down.
that I have technical things I have to do. And I think I did it. I'm hoping I did it. I'm always doing something with technology back here, trying to make sure it's right. Okay, so you know, right, that the theme of the show is inspiring a renaissance of spirit. I also want to let you know, because I'm going to bring my guest on really quick because she's so busy and I want to capture every minute of her time that she has for us. You've heard my commercials for veteranspride.org, and she is also the executive director, I think that's the right title, for that nonprofit. And what we are talking about today is ways to look at philanthropy, donations, giving as a spiritual process, as a spiritual path. And before I go any further with that, I want to let you know, if you're watching live, I'm holding up one of my masks. And if you're just listening, I want to propose to you that wearing a mask is actually spiritual philanthropy. It's a gift to somebody else who's scared. It's a gift to somebody else who has MS and is really at risk at COVID and you don't know it. So when you wonder if you should wear one or not, think about it as spiritual philanthropy. So I'll get back to that later. Okay, I really want to do this. I want to get into my amazing guests. So Robin, thank you so much for joining me. You can see me. Yes, I can see you, right?
Yes, hi Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be so fun. I have to introduce you like your official way, but this is also one of my hiking partners, I just have to say, and I met her, we kind of bonded last year while hiking at the MS. So instead of introducing you, I would love you to talk about your story just a bit. Why nonprofits as opposed to big business? Why did you go in that direction?
Absolutely, and I'll start with my parents. My parents were incredible, caring, compassionate, spiritual people, and my dad was all of that and a colonel, fighter, pilot, Marine, business owner, entrepreneur.
Wow, wow.
So kind of those two things put together really worked for them, and he instilled all of those different pieces, the spiritual side, the leadership side. I watched him as a child run squadrons. I watched him run for-profit businesses.
Wow.
And really got things like my work ethic and he called it compassionate leadership. It was really important to be compassionate while leading, and so that's something I've always taken away from him. And he also just said, you never give up, and you strive to achieve, and you never ever give up until you've achieved that, and then you move on to the next dream and what you want to achieve.
Wow. Wow, so you really grew up in a family that embraced this sort of compassionate leadership, compassion as a spiritual path on some level. So I can see why that took you into the world of nonprofit. Why MS? What is it about the MS Society?
Yeah, let me just say first, before we get to MS, I just had another thought.
Cool.
You know, with my parents and philanthropy, I grew up in a home also that was very much about supporting the church, supporting the community, and so I really feel like that's part of who I am too, and why I went to nonprofit, kind of like you asked me before, versus for-profit, because of that community piece and that making a difference and supporting people in their lives. So.
Right.
So yeah, I just thought that philanthropy piece is just in me, inbred or in me, because it was really instilled from the early childhood.
Right. That makes perfect sense. You know, I remember my dad donating blood as I was growing up, and I continued in that and donate blood every 8 weeks. So it's those things that our parents teach us often. Okay, so now, why MS?
So with MS, first and foremost, I have a very long time dear friend who's been living with relapsing remitting MS for over 30 years.
Wow. Wow.
And I've walked and watched that journey. I've walked that journey with her, supported her. Mm-hmm. She might have a relapse and be bedridden, or she might have a really bad relapse and end up in the hospital. So I know really how hard it is to live with a chronic illness like MS and how it affects people's entire lives. So that's what really got me interested in joining the MS Society. And the MS Society is also by far one of the leaders in the nonprofit world, so to speak. We're a leader in providing information and resources and also in global research. So the two together just fit perfectly, and here I sit.
Right, and I know I shared with you that my brother had MS and died from a reaction to many years ago, 12 years ago now, for his MS meds, because they didn't know enough at the time, but the research has gone so far since then. And the MS Society was there for us when he got sick and supportive and talking us through it, and so that's where my love for that came from. Can you just talk, because MS is like a hidden disease, right? Like you can be walking down the street and be surrounded by people and you'd never know somebody has MS. And the research is really pretty amazing in terms of the progress. So can you just talk to us a little bit about some of the MS research or what the MS Society does, whatever seems important to you?
Sure. A lot of people don't know exactly what multiple sclerosis is, so I thought I'd just say that it can be a hidden kind of a chronic illness, but it's a disease that affects the central nervous system, and it disrupts the flow of information from the brain to the body, is probably the best way kind of to say it. And there are many symptoms, like you said, that you can't see in people. Right. Fatigue is a very common one that people can't see, or issues with their eyes that they maybe can't see very well, but you can't tell that. So there was a lot of different things that people suffer from living with MS that you cannot see, that makes it harder, because they might look great, but they feel horrible. So kind of balancing that is really important. And if you know someone with MS, don't often, try not to say, hey, you look great, because they might not feel so great.
That's right. Yeah, I have, through being involved with the MS Society, I've met so many people with MS, because people don't usually share that. But once they know I'm hiking and fundraising for MS, and if you're listening right now, I want to tell you that if you go to the Dr. Elisa site on Facebook, or you go to the KUHS or Henry Echoletta site on Facebook, you will see that you could actually donate to my fundraiser, which is the MS Hike. We're doing it virtually this year. But I've met so many people with MS. The MS Society is helping some of the research towards the cure, too. Can you talk about that?
Sure. If you think back to, like you talked about your brother, 2 decades ago or so, there were no medications, what we call disease-modifying therapies, really out there. So people were diagnosed with MS and said, oh, just go home and stay, they even said at that time, stay inactive. So think about, over the last 2 decades, we now have as many as 20 all different types of disease-modifying therapies, depending on the symptoms and the situation for the person with MS. And the MS Society has been part of leading that, has been leading that entire effort. We're the largest global funder of research, and we convene people from all over the globe, all over the world. We pull people together in their ideas and make sure they're collaborating and talking and sharing to ultimately help us to find that cure, like we say, to end MS forever.
Right.
So there are great things going on. One of the areas is health and wellness. Like I said before, they just kind of said, no, stop everything. Now it's all about health and wellness and eating right, and even your spiritual side and your beliefs and eating and exercising. So we've come a long way. Not to get too in-depth in research, but you can go onto our website at nationalmssociety.org and see more about our research. But we have been leading the way, and there are very exciting things going on. For the first time in these last few years, we're actually talking about that we're closer to a cure. We're not just, we know we are closer to a cure. Even 5, 10 years ago, we didn't talk about the fact that we didn't even say the word cure. We just, it was not in our vocabulary to say cure, and now we progressed to the point where we are talking that there will be a cure in the coming years, give or take.
Right. I know, it's absolutely amazing. We get so overwhelmed with current events. So we're so focused on COVID, and then we forget sometimes that there's other diseases and there's amazing research. I was actually at an event that you held, that there was a speaker and talking about training mice who they treated these mice very, very well. Trust me, I'm an animal lover. And after they had a MS event, the mice, they were able to remember how to walk and remember. And I thought that was fantastic. And in fact, I've met people at hike who have said, I couldn't walk last year, and here I am hiking this year.
Retraining the brain is incredible. I mean, the brain is an incredible organ, and to be able to retrain it, and that's where we're heading with that. And also, the myelin myelin repair is a really important piece too. That we didn't use those words in recent years. That repairing the myelin, that is not the cover of the nerve. That is talk of very recent years and recent even. Very current, and we're looking at scenarios like that could repair the damage, and then you would be ultimately cured that way.
Right. So if you're out there listening, this is KUHS Denver, The Stream, and this is the Dr. Elisa Show with my amazing guest, Robin Moore, who is the president of the California, Wyoming chapter of the National MS Society. And
Colorado, sorry.
Oh, sorry, what did I say? Colorado, Wyoming. I don't know what, I'm sorry. You know, like I've got technology and you and everything going on. My brain skipped a beat there. You can go to the Facebook site and post some questions or some comments in there. I have some more questions, and I'm just checking the technology here. There's so much to do at the same time. Okay, so let's shift it a little back to being a philanthropist as sort of a spiritual journey. And I'm wondering how you define philanthropy. I've gotten to the point where I say, if you could donate $5 a month, that's philanthropy. If you can do something, you don't have the money, but you can help other people in some sort of volunteer way, like volunteering at one of the MS events, then that's another form of philanthropy. So what are your thoughts on that?
You're exactly right, Elisa, on that. Philanthropy is connecting to nonprofit work of any sort, and it's connecting people to those nonprofits. It's connecting yourself to those people. Right. It's incredibly, I like to say, powerful. It's life-changing for people to get involved. Is it volunteering? It's giving that $5 or $500,000. It's giving of your emotional and your spiritual self, but it's super powerful, and I just feel like if people had that in their lives, there's so many words that come to mind, like fulfillment, happiness, like compassion, supporting others is what we all feel like we want to do, boosting self-esteem and strength for ourselves. I mean, there's so many things that go with giving and connecting with nonprofit and philanthropy. Those are kind of some of the things that come to mind.
Right. And I think it's good to remember that some of us are good at some things and some of us are good at other things, right? So maybe you're not a person who can go to big marches, but you're a person who can who can volunteer behind the scenes for something, right? So, and definitely, if you're listening, you probably know, right? If you're listening, that the MS hike this year, and it's the only hike, isn't it, for the MS Society? Colorado is the only hike, right? So there's bike and there's walk, and you should definitely try those next year because COVID has sort of put the squash on those, but not on the fundraising and definitely not on the need. But you can go to one of those smaller events and be a support person and not feel overwhelmed by large crowds, because that's hard. That's really hard for some people. I want to talk, Robin, I love talking to you. Let's talk a little bit about the way that this sort of involvement with philanthropy has changed your life. Do you mind talking about that? We started with sort of your parents as a spiritual path, like theirs, and then do you mind, like, how has that affected you, or how have you seen it affect those around you?
Yeah, I just have had an amazing experience personally in philanthropy, and I'm lucky that I'm lucky, and I kind of planned it that way in my career. I for one thing, what comes to mind first is that I love to get up every day energized to go to work.
That's awesome.
How many people can say that?
How awesome is that?
I mean, so I love to connect with our donors and our volunteers and our people living with MS. It's just, for me, that's my philanthropy, is living in it every day. But it is so fulfilling, and it just makes me want to get up every day, because I do feel like we all really make a difference, and I feel like I am making a difference every day. I may talk to a dozen people, I may only talk to one in a day. But I feel like, and all the work behind the scenes is doing all the work to support those people. So I'm just motivated every day because of working and living in philanthropy all at once.
So let's kind of riff off of that, because philanthropy has been affected by COVID. And so I know you, and I know you still wake up like, this is great, but what are the challenges you're facing this year that are different than the challenges you've faced in other years?
Yeah, the pandemic, COVID has dramatically impacted our organization like every other organization out there. Basically our fundraising happened, in terms of the fundraising piece, was almost all through events. So, and people donating to events, not necessarily just participating in events, but donating to events. And boy, that came to a screeching halt. Right. And it kind of panicked us, just like it panicked all organizations. Right. So we had to look at the whole organization and say, what do we do now? And what we kind of came up with is, we need to connect with all of our people. We need to connect. We called thousands and thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands of people across the nation, to just connect and say, how are you? And take it that route, and into that depth of, we're not worried right now, we're worried about you, whether you have MS or you're just a person who donates to the MS Society. So that was the first kind of step that we took.
So leading with kindness, leading with compassion, like you always have, right?
Yes.
What else are you doing? Just because I know and in a minute I'm going to put if I can do all this technology, put my donation site in the Facebook site. But what else can you say to people who right now are wondering if a $5 donation is even worth making, right?
You know what? Every donation makes a difference. And what I would say is, if you're already involved with a nonprofit, stay involved. Don't let COVID, or us being working remotely or working from home, don't let that stop you. Of course, do it, but stay involved. If you're volunteering, keep giving what you can. But we're doing so much more virtually that we're still connecting with our volunteers. Maybe they're not going out to an event, but we're using them or having them help us with other things. So I would just say, please keep connecting with that nonprofit or that cause that's special to you and you're passionate about. And because they need you now more than ever. We need you now more than ever to continue getting through this whole pandemic, truly.
I know. What was fascinating to me is people are so generous at all levels. But is it true that many nonprofits actually bring in a lot of their money from a lot of the smaller donations? Like, I wish I could give like 100,000, but is that, I mean, because those small donations really matter, don't they?
Absolutely. It's the majority of our donations of our budget this year, our reduced budget because of COVID and the pandemic, is 100. We're enormous. Let's go with 6 million here in Colorado. And I would say 3/4 of that is small donations given. And also, a lot of people love to support someone like you, Lisa, who's hiking. So that your friend says, hey, I'm going to give you $10. I'm going to give you $100.
Right.
So that is what we kind of call peer-to-peer fundraising, is the majority of our gifts that add up to be 6 million here in Colorado and 130 million across the nation.
Right. And I know there's tons of organizations out there. So like you said, donate where your heart is still connected, where you've donated in the past. But remember that some of us who do these events, we aren't all going to the big event, right, up in the mountains and hiking, but I've been hiking, and hopefully I might be joining you on a hike, this in a weekend. Who knows, right?
Yes, I mean, we're really saying do it your way.
Right.
Of course, the first and foremost is to be safe, but
Right.
to do it your way. On Hike MS is in a couple of Saturdays from now, and go out and hike or go out and do whatever it is. It's kind of do it your way in your comfort zone, and but still doing your hike, even if we can't all convene and get together
Right.
to do it together.
And I'm going to do some very shameless fundraising right now and tell everyone who is listening to KUHS Denver the Stream that if you go to the Facebook site, KUHS, go to the Dr. Elisa show, and you will see my link to donate. And I have been lucky enough in the last 12 years since my brother died, I've been doing the hike, and I've been in the top 10. And your $5 or $10 donation will help me stay there. And I also want you to know, I'll talk more about this in a bit, but if you donate at the $36 level or above, you're going to get some free readings. When I send you your thank you note, I'm going to pull a tarot card for you. So if you can donate at a certain level, so why $36? That's sort of a random number, right? I just need to add a little mysticism here. The gematria, the number magic in Kabbalah for the word life, which is Chai, is 18. And we say twice life, double life, is the perfect number to donate. If you are able to donate $36, that is magic, and I'm going to reward you and thank you by pulling a tarot card, and your thank you, you're gonna get a mini reading from me. So Robin, I know you have 2 minutes left, so I just would like to know, and I'm so grateful that you've been here. Thank you, thank you. What else, is there just something, let me open it, that you would like to say about MS or, philanthropy, or just anything you feel moved to talk about?
I would just say that I'm grateful to all of you out there for whatever you're doing in the nonprofit or in the philanthropic world. We need you and we appreciate you, and nonprofits exist because of you, and we're able to help that many people more because you're out there. So I'd say I'm very grateful to you all for that. And like I said earlier, get involved even if it's virtual,
right,
because we're all connecting in a different way now, but it's a good way, and it's working, and we're really enjoying our times together on the computers now. Lisa and I talk now regularly on Zoom, instead of having coffee. We have coffee, but we talk on Zoom. So,
right.
So don't be afraid to get out there and continue connecting, because it will make you feel better spiritually and physically and emotionally. I think it's just such an important piece of our lives and my life,
yes,
that I just encourage you to stay involved that way.
Right. I mean, I just want to add to that if you're feeling lonely, and honestly, who's not feeling either a little overwhelmed or a little lonely at this time, working with a nonprofit in a way that makes you feel like you're sharing your gifts, you will meet amazing people. I mean, at some point you may end up being on the board of a group, and it's just amazing things that can happen when you get involved. So Robin, I know you need to go. I'm going to do another shout out for veteranspride.org, that if people go there, it's an amazing organization, and there's a donate button right there. If you feel like you'd like to help a veteran, that's a great place to donate. And if you feel like, and if you know somebody with MS, or if you have MS, think about donating to this. So Robin, thank you so much. I'm watching the clock. I know you need to run, so we'll say goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. I can't wait to come on again.
Yes, good. We will have you back on, absolutely.
I'm so fortunate to have you, a friend and a colleague. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll hike together soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, there we go. So if you are just tuning in, this is KUHS Denver, the stream. Thank you for being here. That was my amazing guest, Robin Moore, and you can be a spiritual philanthropist. Don't think about the amount, think about the energy. Think about the things you do to help others, and it's a form of philanthropy. And how brilliant and wonderful that can be to enlighten your life, to know you help somebody else. We're going to change gears here a little, though I have to say that what's going on astrologically is perfect for what we've been talking about here. I'm also trying to manage Facebook site, so if you are looking, you can, if you would like to donate, you can go to the, I think we've got it up everywhere, the Facebook KUHS, you can go to the Dr. Elisa, you can go to Henry's site, I think I'm everywhere today, and you will see the link to donate to the MS Hike under my name. And yes, I know it's crazy, right? But I want to be in the top 10 again. But if you know somebody else doing the hike, donate for them. If you know somebody else doing a walk or a bike virtually, donate for them, because in the end, it is the MS Society that I care about. I'm just a little competitive, can you tell? And to encourage you, again, if you donate at that $36 level, I'm going to pull a tarot card for you and give you a reading. If you donate at a higher level, actually, if you donate and say you're donating because of the radio show, I'm going to pull a card for all of you. So whatever you can donate, wherever you are. And trust me, this is an international disease. I have met people everywhere who have dealt with or dealing with MS. So we are going to take a little shift here in what we're talking about. I want to remind you who I am, Dr. Elisa, and I came out as a psychic, channeler, crystal ball reader, astrologer on this station on KUHS. So let's just shift our gears a little bit down into that kind of energy. I want to remind you I'm an author. I am the author of The Way of the Well, which is a spiritual adventure romance. I am actually in chapter 11 of my second novel, which is another spiritual adventure romance. This one that you see, The Way of the Well, is about Miriam's well. The one I'm working on now is about the myth of Tamar and doing a different twist on it. So, and there might be a vampire in it, and I'm pretty sure there's an octopus in it. So, it's just such a fun romp with a lot of really good spiritual messages. I'm on chapter 11. It's going to be a little while before it comes out. But what's going on astrologically now, you ask, and I do want to answer, that maybe is connected, and you definitely can still go in and put comments or questions in the Facebook sites. I'm looking at them and trying to keep track of any comments there. There are so many planets retrograde, right? The good news is Mercury went direct, and Venus went direct, and Neptune went retrograde. And I want to talk about Neptune. Okay, so actually Neptune's going to go retrograde. It's going to go retrograde next week. It's so hard to keep track of these dates. But before it goes retrograde, I just want to talk to you about what it's going to mean, because I think you're going to feel an energy shift. What is Neptune in our lives? Neptune, if you remember any of your mythology, was the god of the sea, right? Under the ocean. And I have to say, it's 2020 and things are really a little challenging and bizarre. And Neptune was the one who could set the Kraken free. And if you know anything about mythology, this is a sort of great monster that was Neptune's pet. And if he set it free, it could destroy the land. And so it's always good to treat the ocean nicely. Another form of spiritual philanthropy is to make sure you keep plastic out of the ocean. There's so many ways to help. And we don't want to irritate Neptune. So Neptune in our charts, Neptune in the sky, is always about dreams and things that are transcendent. Think about that dream world of being deep underwater. It represents illusion, delusion, where we get tricked, where we get fooled. It also can represent addiction and loss. In astrology, we look at Neptune as the ruler of personal possibilities, of dreams of the future, of spirituality in many ways. And it's not the only place, but it's part of that. What Neptune in our chart says, remember, a planet is a what, like what's the energy? The sign is the how. How does it do it in your chart? And the house that it sits in is where. Where in your life does this play out? Okay? You got those pieces? So now we have Neptune in the sky that is in Pisces. And it loves being in Pisces because that's home. And Pisces is the empath. And we talked about being an empath last week, or 2 weeks ago. Pisces is the deeply spiritual, psychic energy sign. That is a lovely place for Neptune. It also, Neptune and Pisces, and Neptune moves very slowly. I just have to say this. Not as slowly as Pluto, but slowly. So it might be in a certain sign for many years, 10 to 14 years. So when it's direct, we could be caught up in illusion. And if you look at your chart and you look at where Neptune is in what house, that's where you get caught up. And if you look at the sign it's in, it's how you get caught up in illusion. What you're trying to avoid, what you're trying to perhaps bring forth, both of those. Maybe your dreams. So as we get close, very close now to Neptune going retrograde, your dreams are probably getting more intense. I'm having crazy dreams that almost like I'm reading a novel that I don't even understand what's going on. It has nothing to do with my life. When it goes retrograde, that'll probably become more intense because of the retrograde motion. When a planet goes backwards, and remember, it doesn't actually go backwards, the law of physics is still out there, but it appears to be going backwards based on the direction, the speed and direction of all, and the orbits of all the other planets, okay? Retrograde towards us. So when it goes retrograde, it is difficult to ignore the truth. So, you know, where Neptune is in our chart, we might decide to zone out on a TV show or party with friends, or you can actually meditate and like a positive thing. Of course, you can meditate to the point that you're completely out of touch with what's going on in your life. So there are many ways it can manifest and help us ignore things. When it goes retrograde, all of that changes. It's a kind of an amazing little shift. It's a wake-up call. And this is coming. And I just want to talk about it because it's going to happen, fairly soon. It can provoke big changes in our life. And you might be surprised at the breakthroughs, at the ways you see the world differently. For example, I said wearing a mask. A mask, right? Like, there's my mask, can be an act of spiritual philanthropy, not a political statement, but a gift to somebody around you who has an autoimmune disease. Your awareness of what you do could shift. You might have walked away from a spiritual path and suddenly realize you want to go back. You might have walked towards a religious or spiritual path and decide you need to re-examine it. We shift, but not necessarily just in one direction. We simply shift. It's in Pisces, so wherever Pisces is in your chart, that is where you're going to see this shift. I'm just going to check the Facebook site here and do a little refresh. Things I've learned. One must refresh a site to, and sometimes it feels like Mercury is permanently retrograde. I just have to say that. Okay, feel free to ask me about Neptune. Feel free to donate to my site. The link is in there. And it is one of the things I can do. If you have a larger donation, then I can, if you give me your birth date, I can tell you where this Neptune retrograde is going to hit you. Okay, so June 22nd, so it takes about, like I said, 14 years in each sign, and it goes backwards. It's in Pisces, and I think, I'm just having trouble getting my dates in my head. It is currently retrograde. I'm sorry, I don't know why I had like a little moment there, probably because Neptune is retrograde and I had a moment. It's going to be retrograde until the end of November. So we are in this period of deep dream work. Think about all the spiritual traditions that talk about deep dream work, going inside ourselves, doing deep dream work meditations. That's where we're being pushed. What we universally are seeing is that we're not as able to fool ourselves. We're not as accepting of lies. We want to take our rose-colored glasses off. We want to see reality. Now, we all see reality differently, so this is not about we're all going to get on the same page and agree. It is about we're going to examine some of those things that we have resisted. And again, it's retrograde until the end of November. It's a long time to want to go inward. And it's joining all those other retrograde planets, right? Just making sure that so much of our life is about inward, is about going towards truth, is about going for spiritual awareness. Neptune seeks the ideal. Like what deep down, what's this area in my life that if I let go of what I want it to be and understand what it is and understand my gifts and my journey, that I can find this amazing spiritual path. And that spiritual path can be in any religion or not in a religion, but it is a spiritual journey. You might love the great myths and realize that Joseph Campbell's heroine's or hero's journey is a perfect way to describe your life. You may find that prayer works or doesn't work for you now, but that meditation suddenly comes in or goes out. You may find a deeper sense of connection to other people, because if Pisces is in your 11th house, this is about a spiritual journey with a tribe, looking for that spiritual tribe. And wherever Neptune, so again, remember there's two things. Neptune is in your chart, your natal chart. You were born with Neptune somewhere in your chart. And that's where you are seeking this energy and where you play this energy out on a regular basis. But Neptune in the sky is in Pisces. And whatever angle or relationship that has to the other houses in your chart, that's where this energy now affects you. So the first thing you do is look at where is Pisces, right? And and let me also say that Neptune spends about 40% of its time retrograde, so it messes with us. It can be a little sneaky. We're not sure, is this my spiritual path? Is this an illusion? And that's why we call them illusions, because we sometimes can't tell. Right? Is this real? Is it not? Am I embracing my truth? Am I not? It can be difficult. But Neptune retrograde is where things start to come clear. And I think we're seeing that around the world. It's not that things have necessarily improved, but we're getting a clearer view of what are we dealing with. Neptune puts a veil over our eyes and hides our anxieties. We really, don't we all want COVID to be over? Every single person on this planet wants COVID and the pandemic to be over. And it's not. We want it to be. And both of those things can be true. I can want it to be over, and I can live in the reality in which it is here. And I can make choices where I take off my rose-covered glasses and I admit to maybe my fears or my anxieties. I've said this before, right? Everybody is living with this low level of anxiety, of fear. Well, when Neptune goes retrograde, it's where we're living right now, we can clearly see that and admit it. Instead of trying to say, oh, I'm doing fine. I know I'm well. We can call a friend and say, I'm lonely. I'm a bit scared. I'm not sure what is safe and what is not safe. But I want to tell you some other things you can do during a Neptune retrograde, right? So first, let me give you sort of the big rules of Neptune retrograde, and then I'm going to go into some of the fun ways you can play this out. It's hard to ignore a bad relationship or a debt. It's very hard with the Neptune retrograde. That's great, isn't it? You can't ignore it anymore. You can call a friend, you can call a financial advisor, you can work with a therapist or an astrologer and say, how do I deal with this? Because now I see it clearly. Seeing things clearly is good. You can have the ability under this retrograde to stop just dreaming and start doing. Have you always dreamed of being an entrepreneur in some way? Hey, you know what? This is a good time to start an entrepreneurial web-based business because people are at home. I got to say, if you help in any way with people's homes right now, with so many people home, that business is also growing like crazy. I'm not going to tell you what business to get into, but I'm going to say it's a great time if you've been hesitating. If you've been sure that you couldn't change careers, you can't be what you want to be, Neptune retrograde says, yes, you can. It's a good time to start. We're able to figure out what's real and what's fantasy. And that can be good and it can be sad. Imagine being a kid who's believed in Santa Claus forever and then being an adult and saying, wow, I wish I still believed in Santa Claus. That can happen where we can be sad. But the reality when we're adults is very good for us. Why? Isn't Santa beautiful? The mythology of some great energy that brings you gifts and what you need and want in life? Yes. And you know what? That energy exists. It's called human beings. And yes, there's a spiritual energy that we can attract to us. I've talked about that. We can seduce to us what we need and want in our lives. That energy exists. But now it's real. And now we know we participate in it. And that's good, right? That's better. We can think more clearly and we can plan more clearly. I think this is a year of enjoying where you are, learning to enjoy and being present, learning to value the small things that we've almost lost, that we partially lost, right, through this year. And really embracing every moment, right? Like right now, I'm just embracing all of your energies and knowing that you're out there and knowing you're listening to me and you're seduced by my voice. I so love that. I put on a little black dress for you. I just want you to know, if you're wondering how I get dressed for this show, I dress up for you. Why? Because I feel like I'm sharing the best part of myself with you and a little of my seductive energy all the time. So we can be incredibly present, and from that place of being present, we can plan the future that we truly want because we've let go of the illusions. And as I think I just sort of touched on, we can evaluate what's really important to us. What do we really want? Think of the things that you don't do now that you don't miss. Think of all the things right now that you crave that maybe you didn't realize were important. Every time we have a retrograde, we redo things, reevaluate, reassess, reassign, recreate, all of those things, and give a sense of rebirth to our lives. And this is a great time to do that. It's a great time to do that as I check the Facebook sites to see if any of you were chatting with me. It's a great time to do that if in terms of the sort of spiritual philanthropy I've been talking about. Some of us are just not wired, like I said, to go into big crowds. We get overwhelmed. But we are wired to do small things for people. If you crochet, can you crochet something for your neighbors or for the neonatal unit? What is your gift that you can do? And we all have one. And during this, and all of these retrogrades, these planets that are so crazily retrograde right now, this is a great time to say, here's what's important to me. And when I can go into the world feeling a bit safer, here's what I want back, and here's what I never want back. Here's what I don't want to do again. And each of those is profoundly important. Okay, so let me add a few pieces here for you, just in case you're wondering. This is most intense for people with a Pisces, somewhere Pisces. So Pisces sun, Pisces moon, Pisces rising. You're really, really going to feel this deeply. Because remember, Pisces, this is about dissolving some of our boundaries, opening up our awareness. You may be feeling very psychic and wondering what that's about. Like, how did I all of a sudden get psychic? What's going on? Yeah, you've always been that way, but the retrograde makes it real. If you're a Virgo, and wherever you have, or Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Virgo rising, this could be a challenging time. Why? Because the way that Virgos measure, you measure yourself, in case you don't know this, based on analyzing information, sorting, looking for perfection. And when Neptune's opposite that, it may seem fuzzy. It may be challenging. It may be difficult for you to see what is an illusion and what's real. But it's a wonderful time, because challenges are what make us grow. It's a wonderful time to choose reality. And again, wherever you have Virgo or Pisces in your chart, and everybody has at least a house, you have it somewhere. You may not have a planet, but you have it somewhere. Who is going to love this time? Hello, my Cancer friends and my Scorpio friends. Why? Because there's a trine energy to either your sun, your moon, or your rising, wherever you have that energy. And you're going to see this sort of explosion of imagination, of inspiration, of just feeling inspired. I have a Scorpio rising. I'm on chapter 11 of my second novel. That feeling of expressing it. Go with that. Flow with that. Don't be afraid of it. Don't pull back. Okay, I'm just checking the site. I'm going to assume that when I talk, you just get hypnotized by my voice, and you just can't post because you so want to listen to me. So where is it in the rest of everybody else's chart, all those signs I didn't talk about? Well, I can talk about that next time, but mostly what you want to do is look for where those 4 signs are in your chart. Sun, moon, rising. Maybe you have a Neptune in Scorpio. Maybe you have a Neptune in Cancer. Where is Neptune in the sky affecting your chart? And you want to look at the meaning of that house, or you want to look at perhaps what planet it is sitting next to or opposite. As one of my astrology friends says, where is it canoodling with another planet? Where is it cuddling up next to another planet? That is where this is affecting you, and where it's been affecting you. Because this is where you often crave the dream world, the illusions. It's where you might get lost in desire, not like sexual desire, but dream desire, desire of not having to deal with the world right now. And with that energy of that retrograde, it changes that. You do want to know reality. You do want to see them through the mist. You do want to see what is real in your life. Okay. That's Neptune. Now I've got to do a little commercial because I already did a commercial for fundraising, right? And I'm going to say again that if you want a little more personal information, all you got to do is go to the MS Hike site. If you're not on Facebook and you don't want to go there, it's really easy. Do a search on MS, M like Mike, Sam, S like Sam, MS Hike 2020, and you'll get to a website. And then you click donate and you search for me, Elisa Robin, first and last name. click and you will find my donation page. And when you donate there, make sure you have your name, make sure I know who you are, and that you heard me on the radio, if you want to put a note in there. And I will be able to respond to you with a thank you and a tarot card pull. Or if you've asked for something else, if you've asked for where is Neptune affecting you. I gotta have your birth date to know that, okay? Including your time of birth. That's the only way this works. So if you want a little more personal information, it's almost free because you can donate, which you can is charity, right? You can feel good about donating, and I'm just going to give you an added thank you. Second commercial. Maybe that's a lot of commercials, right? MS Society, VeteransPride.org, but let me do another one. As you know, I have a radio show that comes up, next week, Monday. So the third Monday of every month, I do a show called the Crystal Ball Hour. And it only works if you go into Facebook and post questions. You say, what about my love life? What's going to happen to me? And here's the reason you have to post. Because I can't answer questions without permission. Now, I don't do health. So if you ask me about your health, I'm going to tell you to go to your healthcare practitioner, whoever that might be. And I can't tell you about the stock market. And I'm not going to predict the election. Okay? Those are the things that are off the table. However, that leaves an awful lot there. And if you post a question, I can answer it. How do I do that? I come from a tradition, a line of women, who taught me how to read crystal balls by looking through a wine glass, a goblet, it has to be clear, through red wine. If you don't drink wine, try grape juice, and a candle. And it was a meditation. It was a type of meditation I learned. And it's through my lineage that I learned to do this, and learned to do it in a way that lets me connect with your spirit guides, to channel your elders who have maybe already passed. So I'm not pulling tarot cards when I do that. I'm not looking at your astrological sign when I do that. I'm channeling. And I'm channeling guides, or I'm channeling your elders, or I'm just seeing. I talked to a woman lately who's a brilliant woman using the Akashic records, and those are the, if you, I don't know if I can explain that to you, but the Akashic records are a library where there's a book of our past lives and our history and some about our future that is written. And she said that looked like that's what I was doing when I was using my crystal balls. So when I do that show, I actually bring in, and if you're watching Facebook, you'll see them. I have a selection and I bring them in, and they're different sizes, and some are leaded crystal and some are minerals. And I bring them in, and depending what your question is and how I'm led, I hold those in my hand and let my energy drift and follow your energy and track your energy to answer the question that you're asking. That's how that works. I've taught many people to do this. I do believe almost anyone can do this. You just have to be willing to let go a little and let information in. That show is, and trust me, we'll be advertising this a lot, but I need you to go to Facebook and ask me questions the day of the show, at the time of the show, because that's when I can pull up the site and see those questions and answer them and respond to you. So that's coming up next. And what I'd also love to know is, do you want more astrology? Do you want more psychic? What would you like? More spiritual sort of guidance and wisdom? What would you like to hear on this show? Because my job is to inspire a renaissance of spirit within you. From KUHS Denver, the Dr. Lisa Show. Believe it or not, I am at the end of my show. My hour is up. I want to thank you for joining me. Every single one of you. If you donate, please let me know in the notes in the donation site that you heard about this on the radio, so I can gift you back a thank you and help you. Just give you a little guidance in this confusing time. I hope you like the show. Please let me know, and please let me know what else you'd like to hear on this show. So, thank you from KUHS Denver, the stream. This has been the Dr. Lisa Show. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And I will talk to you soon from the Crystal Ball Hour. Bye.